Welcome to the Lactate Cycling Club. This is episode number 4 of Ask the Coach with me, Chris Opie. This week I'm answering your questions on lactate threshold heart rate, supplements and strength training off the bike. Our first question this week is from Amy and she's asking, what is lactate threshold heart rate? Well, lactate threshold heart rate is a means of which to train to your heart rate. By establishing what your lactate threshold heart rate is via a test, which I'll outline in just a second, you can then work out what your other training zones are, and this will help you to create a more effective means to training rather than just going on feel. Heart rate is a step above feel when it comes to training means, or a way of analysing our training, and then on top of that you have power, which is just that little bit more accurate again. What is your lactate threshold heart rate? Well, simply, it's the peak heart rate average that you can sustain for 20 minutes. So the test for this is to warm up and then ride as hard as you can for 30 minutes. It's that final 20-minute average heart rate that you then take to establish your lactate threshold heart rate. And from there, you calculate your other training zones. A quick search online for heart rate training zones, you'll find there are either 5 or 6 training zones, which they're broken down into, starting with zone 1 at the recovery end, up until zone 5 or zone 6, which is VO2 anaerobic type efforts. Those are the very short ones. When it comes to training to intensity is that high, you actually won't be looking at your heart rate monitor. That will be almost going on feel, but it will be there recording the data afterwards. But once you do get up past that zone 4 exertion, you'll notice that it's quite hard to train to your heart rate. Instead, you'll probably be paying more attention to perceived exertion. So riding at 8, 9 or 10 out of 10 on a perceived exertion scale. This is because when you get past that zone 4, heat, hydration and fatigue all start to have more of an effect on your heart rate. There are other variables as well, even motivation and caffeine intake can make a difference to your heart rate, meaning it's a little bit trickier to fine tune your training at those intensities, but it's a fantastic way of tracking exactly how hard you are trying on your bike, and it can teach you a lot about how your body is responding to the training that you're placing it under. It can even help flag up when illnesses are on the way or when you should have a rest day. Amy, hopefully you'll find those tips useful and you can enjoy training to your lactate threshold heart rate. Our second question is from YouTube and it's from someone called Bikepacking Adventure. He's a 48-year-old cyclist, covers over 300 miles most months and rides at least once a week over 60 miles. He wants to know if there are any supplements he should consider taking in order to help his cycling performance, recovery, that sort of thing. Well, Bikepacking Adventure, this is an absolute minefield of a topic, and there's so much research in the world of supplements that is purely funded by the companies trying to sell the supplements that you have to start questioning what's right and what's wrong. Luckily, there are some really good resources out there to help you understand this, including some fantastic nutritionists. Jeukendrup is one of them. He's a very famous Dutch nutritionist and for years has been one of the leading sports scientists which are trying to help us understand what supplements we should consider taking, whether it's really a viable option or just a waste of money, which is often the case. Have a look at some of his social media channels, some of his YouTube videos and things like that, and you'll start to understand exactly what it is we should consider taking and what we should perhaps consider not using. When it comes to living in the Northern Hemisphere, I don't know where you're based, but up here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's quite accepted these days that many of us may have some sort of vitamin D deficiency, in which case a vitamin D supplement can help support our immune system. Other than that, perhaps every now and again a multivitamin, just to ensure we're getting that complete rounded package of the nutrients that we need. But generally speaking, we should always look to absorb most of our nutrients through real foods before worrying about supplements. Pay attention to your diet. Think of this as the foundation for your cycling performance and then build from there. And there's one final thing that I'd like to add to this, and that's don't confuse supplements with sports products, sports nutrition that is. These are products that have been designed to be more easily digestible on the bike or when running, exercising. They're designed to give you faster fuel, give you the correct type of fuel, and to help you recover after training. I don't consider these to be supplements as they are actual foods. Supplements I always think of as the vitamins and minerals, extra products, which you don't necessarily need. They're supplements after all, rather than a basis for your nutrition. My final piece of advice when it comes to the world of supplements is do your due diligence. Many of these companies make wild claims for their marketing campaigns. If it seems too good to be true, chances are it is. So be careful, it really is a minefield. Our final question this week is from Stephen, who currently only cycles but wants to know, would it be beneficial to include strength training into his training program? Stephen, the simple answer is yes, and we'll come on to the whys in just a second. Strength training, aside from the potential risk for injury if you don't conduct the exercises correctly, though you could say that goes for any type of exercise, strength training is incredibly beneficial. It's good for your skeletal health, it's good for your muscular health and development and growth and strength on the bike. It's also good for your all-round body posture as well. It's really important to find a program that works for you and is tailored towards your cycling, but including 2 to 3 strength sessions per week throughout the entire calendar year will do more for your cycling performance than almost any other additional training that you could consider adding to your training program. There is more and more scientific research being conducted into just why strength training is beneficial for endurance athletes. In the past, endurance athletes had this major reservation about building muscle mass, but functional muscle mass will always be more beneficial to your performance than not having it at all. But also, it's very difficult to actually build lean body mass, in other words, get heavier, build muscle mass, whilst on an endurance training program. All you're going to do is increase the strength that the muscles that you have are able to produce when on the bike. And the more strength you have, meaning the more residual force that you can exert onto the bike, the more power you always have in reserve. It's going to help with injury prevention, it's going to help you function better on the bike, and also it's just a really enjoyable way, a lot of the time, to do something other than cycling. Cycling is one of those exercises which can be quite restrictive in its movement. We're only really using our legs. We spend a lot of time hunched over. So doing some sort of strength and conditioning program is going to help you iron out those imperfections in your body posture. Stephen, it's one of the best things that you can do to go alongside your on-bike training program. Good luck with it. Let us know how you get on. Hopefully you found this episode useful. If you do want to ask us a question, head over to the Ask the Coach feature on the LCCC website, or simply drop your question in the comments box down below. Please do send us your questions. It can be on anything cycling related. One of our experts will answer the question and we'll deliver it to you next week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.